All right. What's going on, everybody? Russell Clay here for another live. I don't know why I always adjust my seat when I go live, but I guess that's one of the things I do. We have a lot to talk about today. For those of you that aren't Fantasy Guru subscribers, we're going to be talking about some of the prospect profiles I looked at this week. We're going to be talking about Rashee Rice's dynasty value and what I'm doing with that. And then, having a little fun, my more casual stuff, MLB K props and UFC 300. So a lot to talk about, and there is a lot going on right now. The NFL draft is upon us. The NFL offseason isn't really an offseason anymore. And of course, when you have things like the Rashee Rice situation, it changes a lot for us as fantasy people and just fans of the NFL in general. And so let's kind of just get into it now. Rashee Rice, a player that, really broke out in the second half of last year, 930 yards in his rookie year, but also produced in the playoffs. I mean, he was a main guy for this team, especially in that Miami game. But, all of these games, he's playing 60 to 90% of the snaps, really became an integral part of the Chiefs offense and for Patrick Mahomes. So, of course, the analysis is not based on what we're doing with Rashee Rice, the dynasty prospect. It's how are we handling this situation now that he's been sort of arrested and dealing with all these charges. And all I'll say is, for those of you that were around when the Tyreek Hill situation happened, there was Armageddon in the dynasty streets. He was traded for second round rookie picks at a point. There was a few-day period where he was being traded for nothing, essentially. And then the charges got dropped. He must have gotten really good lawyers. Things went well. He had community service, and then he was back on the Chiefs, putting up huge seasons. And now, I think it was 2019 or 2020, somewhere around here, where we traded this guy, or you did. I didn't really have much Tyreek Hill at the time, but I saw these trades go down in my dynasty league, and on the other end of the spectrum, there's a Henry Ruggs, where he was gone and it was his NFL career was essentially over. None of this stuff is fun to talk about, but this is the Rashee Rice situation. So what I'm doing, I'm holding if I have him. I'm not selling him for what the prices are now. I don't want to have that Tyreek Hill situation happen to me with rookie picks and trading it. So I'm just holding if I have him. I guess if you want to pursue Rice, number one wide receiver in the Chiefs offense, if he ever gets back out there. So, yeah, I don't know. Of course, this isn't a good thing to talk about fantasy-wise, but if you're in a dynasty league, this is something that is going on right now. You're seeing trades. You're seeing trade offers for Rashee Rice. So that's my thoughts on it. Hold him if you have him. Don't sell for nothing. I'd rather, hold till zero than trade him for nothing and have a guy, having a wide receiver one on his team for 5 years because I gave it to him for free. So that's my thoughts there. Next one here, Jaylen Wright. Where is it? Jaylen Wright. I did his profile last night. A few different numbers there for Jaylen Wright in his Tennessee career. One thing I will say, in a different running back class, this probably wouldn't be as, maybe he wouldn't get as much opportunity to shine, but with a running back class with almost no RB1, I mean, I would argue Trey Benson is the running back one in this class, but pretty unassuming career for Jaylen Wright. He, of course, tested out incredibly, at the combine. But in terms of his career, was basically in a committee for a few years with Jabari Small and Thompson, or Sampson, sorry, Dylan Sampson at Tennessee. Always was the more efficient runner, but clearly this is not a perfect profile. Now, if we're talking about what he is, you could argue maybe this is the perfect profile for what we're looking for now. Running backs aren't really going that high anymore, so we're looking for more archetypes, guys that can receive the ball. He didn't do a lot of that in college until his final season. He had some receiving role, but second, third, fourth round running back. Maybe starting off his career slow, but getting that third down role, getting snaps early on and building off that. Kind of like what we saw with Tyjae Spears in year one, where, he was never really a threat to Derrick Henry's full role, but we started to see him get more and more snaps as the year went on. And now, of course, Derrick Henry is no longer in Tennessee. So you look at Tony Pollard, he kind of ate off Zeke for a few years before he got his featured role. Alvin Kamara had immense fantasy production, but he was splitting with Mark Ingram for a few years. So when we're looking at this prospect profile, historically, maybe a decade ago, I wouldn't have been as excited about it. But now I'm like, okay, if he goes in round 3, which is basically round 2 of 2010 or 2005, could we see him, sort of a team have big plans for him as that secondary back? And could we get a Tony Pollard type rookie contract out of Wright? So that's what I'm looking at. Again, limited production. Really only had that 1 year career high 159 snaps. But again, Antonio Gibson is another example of someone who was never featured in college. And, James Cook as well, never featured in college. So is that something we could see from Jaylen Wright, where he emerges as almost the same role or even a bigger role in the NFL than his college career? Certainly possible. I also think he had a great experience playing on those Tennessee offenses. Those were really, really good off. I know, of course, his senior year, he took on a bigger role because they swapped out Hendon Hooker for Joe Milton, which kind of, losing Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman as well decimated that passing game. But the prior 2 years, Jaylen Wright got some really great experience on some high-octane offenses, so wouldn't be surprising to see an OC look back to those 2 years prior and be like, all right, this guy can be our big play threat, and he certainly can do that. Decide on a number, Jaylen Wright. When I was looking for this cover photo, he's all over the place, so figure it out. Next one, Braelon Allen. Boy, this is a tough eval for me. I love Wisconsin backs. I love, the old school wrecking balls, the Derrick Henrys. I do not think Braelon Allen is like Derrick Henry, but he has a lot of redeeming qualities. Again, many are looking at his final season and kind of saying, maybe this isn't the guy we all wanted. Not even sure where he is kind of looking to be drafted at this point. Maybe round 4, round 5, maybe he slips into round 3. We don't have athletic testing on him, but we can't ignore the freshman production. And 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns, that was really in 9 games. He was getting sparing touches, breaking big plays on limited touches before that. But actually, let's go to Braelon Allen because he didn't start out that year as a starter. He started out kind of getting a few, no touches first game, 7 touches the next game, 3 touches, and then there was an injury. I believe it was Isaac Guerrero who got hurt, and then he was basically forced into a bigger role. And I remember that Illinois game. It was like, wait a second. Who is this dude? 4-star recruit, big kid, but the big talk this whole year, he basically played this whole season as a 17-year-old. So that's what we're looking at when we're looking at a guy. Again, we want to see precocious production. And, you know, an age 17 freshman season where a guy's producing 1,300 yards, that is super valuable to me. Much, much, much more valuable than the final season that was kind of a dud considering expectations. I think everyone wanted, you know, that final season at Alabama from Derrick Henry from Allen where he has 2,000 yards and 30 rushing touchdowns. But that was just never in the cards for that Wisconsin team. They just were not a very good offense. And, you know, kind of suffered because of that. Do like the reception total in his final season, but not much production off of those. So, again, we don't have athletic testing. There's only so much you can know about Braelon Allen. And the big conversation for me and kind of what I talked about here is like, how much does the NFL value this type of player, this type of archetype anymore? Certainly has utility in the NFL. We still see a bunch of 230-plus pound running backs like Gus Edwards, Derrick Henry, et cetera, et cetera. But do they highly value them anymore? Because we have seen the highly valued running back prospects over the last decade. When you think of the Nick Chubb, you think of the Jonathan Taylor, you think of, you know, Derrick Henry again, bringing him up again. All of those guys were immaculate, as good as it gets, 2-down grinder prospects. With Jonathan Taylor probably being the best one, running a 4.3 at like 230 pounds or 225 pounds, whatever they want to say. They all went in the second round. Those guys would have been top 5 picks in the NFL draft in the year 2000 to 2005. They would have been right next to Cadillac Williams, and whoever that other guy was at Alabama. If you could put in the comments who was with Cadillac in that backfield. Ronnie Brown. One backfield had 2 top 5 picks in the NFL draft. We were so young then. But I guess the point in 2024, 2023, 2025, is this valued at all? Are these guys free agent, like 5th, 6th, 7th round type values from an NFL draft perspective at this point? Does the NFL care about this type of player anymore? And you could argue they don't. So a Braelon Allen, even a decade ago, probably goes 2nd round, guaranteed. 2005, he's probably, Ron Dane over there. Now, could he get into the 3rd round? I think so. Is he more realistically like a 4th or 5th round pick? That's kind of where I would land. Which is unfortunate because I like Allen, but when I look at his profile, I just kind of have to laugh and say, all right, I like this. I'm conditioned to like what I'm seeing here, but the new NFL has shown us through results through the NFL draft, they don't care as much about this profile. I compared him to Jeremy Hill, for those of you that remember the former Cincinnati Bengals running back. They do have similar setup, similar production in college. Hill went in the 2nd round in 2015, 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. 2014, somewhere around there. I do not think it's the same NFL anymore. I don't think they value these skill sets the same. So while Jeremy Hill went in the 2nd round, and that is my comp, I would slide that scale down to round 3, round 4. So while I like Braelon Allen as the prospect, you cannot ignore that freshman production. That's a super valuable indicator for future success. It just might come in a later round, and maybe that's a longer road to starter snaps. So I do like Braelon Allen, especially in this type of running back class, but that is what we're looking at here. All right, let's move quickly. So in terms of sports betting, I have found pitcher K props to be pretty consistent. I did pretty well units wise on just K props. I don't mess with hitter props, home runs, doubles, strikeouts. I don't mess with any of that. But when you look at pitchers, and I learned this from the Fantasy Guru Discord. Rob, MLB model, posts his K props and projections every day. Also another guy, Sean Corner, of the Action Network. He does great work on sort of finding line value and all that good stuff. But when you kind of get to know these pitchers and their tendencies, and you get to know the other teams, the batting lineups, and start to track them, I do think this is pretty sticky and pretty predictable. So over time, you can do pretty well on K-props. So a few guys I'm looking at today. This Twins-Tigers matchup is pretty hilarious. It got rained out yesterday. I still have a Tariq Skubal K-prop from yesterday at 7.5. So rain delays, guys getting pushed back on starts. Clearly, Vegas thinks that affects the betting line because he was at a strong 7.5 yesterday, and now he's basically even money to at 6.5. I'm going over here. I think it's a pretty easy over against this Phillies lineup that just got destroyed by Twins lineup that just who did the Twins get destroyed by? Who was that? A pitcher crushed them the other day. Anyway, I'm a casual MLB fan, but I do know the Twins got crushed, and this goes back to last year where they strike out at a very high rate. So I like that one. And then Pablo Lopez, the Tigers are a much improved team this year. At least it seems that way early on. But Pablo Lopez, kind of a rough start to the season from a K perspective, but that guy is a strikeout pitcher. So I like that one. Freddie Peralta, his start got rained out yesterday, so he's pitching today. That's 6.5 against the Orioles. That's a tough one. The weirdest one for me, Gossman, 7.5. Just no respect for the Rockies at all. That's a tough line. That's a really good line. 8 is a ton of Ks. This Rockies lineup has been better at times. They have a guy, Tovar. He bats second. He's good. Blackman's really good if he's in the lineup. So those are a tough first two. It's the end of that lineup that guys really are feasting on this year. So I'm staying away from that one, even though clearly Gaussman's set up. Maybe if you want to take the fantasy points over, but overall, that's a tough one. Max Fried, I'm taking the over 5.5 just because the Marlins have been, I don't want to say historically bad, but they have been a travesty this year. I don't know what happened to them. They did lose Solar, but, I don't know what happened to them this year. They are getting pillaged every start right now from a K perspective, and I think that's going to continue. Fried has, a pretty good K rate last year. Certainly inconsistent, but against this Marlins lineup, they're basically giving it up for free. So I'm in on the over there. Severino was a guy I targeted the under on basically every start last year, and it was awesome. He humbled me. His last start. He crushed. I'm staying away for now. This Royals lineup has been really, really solid this year, but Severino looked fantastic in his last start. So while I would normally slam the under here, I kind of feel like now I'm seeing why all those K props were so high last year, even though he sucked every game. So I'm gonna politely stay away from that fella over there. Reed Detmers. The Red Sox were striking out ridiculous rates early in the year, but the last couple games, they've kind of turned it around and aren't really as much of a target as I've wanted them to be. Rodriguez for the Orioles hit his under yesterday against them, and they've been under the last few times, so staying away there. Yeah, what else am I on? I know there's some sharp folks on Jordan Wicks over. Mariners have been striking out a ton lately. I don't know if Wicks is the guy to do it, but if you want to sprinkle there, that's fine with me. And then the last one, I get that the Dodgers are striking out a lot, and the end of that lineup's pretty rough, but are we sure Michael King is the guy? There's definitely a chance he gets shelled here early on. So I'm fading just for that. I took the under when it was even money. You can see it shifted to minus 150 on DraftKings. Yeah, I'm messing with that. So, all right, here we go. UFC 300 is this weekend. If you haven't gotten involved with MMA, it's certainly a fun sport to watch, and in terms of sports betting, I think it's probably the best. The fights are structured so that you have one at a time. It's perfect for parlays, but sweating a fight is wild because it's such high stakes. These guys are literally putting it out on the line for our entertainment. They're getting paid pretty handsomely for this card, UFC 300. These would basically all be main events in a regular UFC card. So the fact that we get all of them here, if you get this card, you're basically waiting for Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje. That's a ridiculous card or ridiculous fight. Charles Oliveira versus Arman. I mean, it's the new school versus the old school. I think Arman's a pretty sizable favorite there. But Charlie Olives has immense finish upside and has kind of been the underdog in a lot of his fights over the last 5 years. And he's proven a lot of people wrong. I'm on Arman, but man, that could go either way. A lot of these fights are super close. The Yuri Rakic fight, if you want violence and you're looking for some, that's on the prelims. So if you want to check that out on ESPN, certainly suggest doing so. Former champion and Yuri Prohaska, and Rakic is a huge, very powerful 205er. So that's a great fight there. Upset pick of the week for me is Calvin Kattar. Aljamain Sterling going up a weight class. Clearly there's sub upside with Sterling or sort of wrestling upside, but if this is standing, Kattar's going to be way bigger than him. I know Sterling added a lot of weight, but I don't know. And Kattar, he's losing to Max Holloway. But really, and he's losing to Zabit, who's now retired and like a doctor in Russia or whatever he's doing. But, the Josh Emmett, you could argue he won that. And then the knee injury against Arnold Allen is a nothing. I like the odds there. What is he? Plus 145. I don't know if that's the best line, but I like that. I like that pick there. If it can stay standing, he can win a decision, or honestly, he could finish Aljo. So I like that pick there. Jalen Turner by finish. I don't get this fight. I feel like Turner should have his way with Moicano. I'd be shocked if Moicano finishes this fight, never mind wins it. So, yeah, Jalen Turner by finish there for me. This first fight, worried about our pal Cody Garbrandt. So, definitely check out this card over on fantasyguru.com. We have a full write-up from two guys, T-Rod and Serge. They do the DFS portion breakdown on our site, so definitely check out that write-up. Go over to fantasyguru.com. Hang out with us in the DFS Discord or the sports betting MMA Discord. We have a lot of fun in there on Saturdays, and I know there's going to be a lot of people in there this weekend sweating the fights. So come hang out and come do that. So anyway, that's pretty much it for me, y'all. But wanted to check in, do a little breakdown of what my week was like, what I'm looking at today, and UFC 300. So anyway, I'll catch you guys later. If you're on YouTube, please like the video and also subscribe to the channel. Maybe give it a comment in the comment section. But other than that, hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll catch you later.